people. I feel like this is a real low point for me. Almost like giving up on something. But we're here. There's a damn Corvette in my yard. So I'll be clear right off the bat. This is not mine. This is actually something my dad bought. And it's going to be a project that I'm going to build for him. No, it's not going to be a vet cart. That's obviously what somebody started to do with this thing and then gave up on it. So the guy we got it from was going to buy it to use it as a retrofit chassis for something. He decided he had too many projects and wouldn't be doing that, but that's exactly what we're going to do with it. And it'll be a pretty neat swap. The big thing is we're not going to be using the main part of the chassis. It's definitely going to be a subframe dropout, use a suspension, use the engine transmission, because this is a nice, I mean, for the year, low miles. It's only got 76,000 miles on it. Everything's in pretty nice shape. I'm sure there'll be some bushings and things in the suspension that'll need to be replaced. But the big plan here is cut that stuff out, or unbolt it rather. We shouldn't have to cut anything out. Take the front suspension, the engine, the trans, the rear suspension, maybe end up doing some stuff with the radiator and the intake system as well. Obviously, for what we're going to swap it to, the brakes are going to be a huge upgrade. If I can, I'm even going to try to keep the ABS pump. I know I'll have to swap all the computers and everything. Big thing is we just want this to be a nice, like, reliable, go out, start it, and drive it vehicle for my dad when it's done. Alright, I want to film this while it's still fresh in my head. As you saw in the video, this thing runs and drives, or it did anyway. I think we had it parked outside 2 days or so. Like, it didn't rain or anything like that. We ended up having like a little bit of a misty day, so I started it, fired right up, drove inside. And then I haven't even touched it for like 2 weeks. And then I go to start it up to move it today because we had a different project in here and it was clicking like the battery was dead. So we had the jumper on it, whatever, like it'd get it to crank, but then it was intermittent. I crawled underneath it. The cable was a little loose at the battery, kind of weird, but whatever. Tighten that up.
and then it would crank and crank and crank and crank and crank and crank, and we couldn't get to start. And after a little bit of messing around with some other stuff, trying to see if it was flooded, then I didn't have any spark, but it was cranking, which was weird. And then like we were trying to pull fuses, just to check fuses and stuff for the ignition, and we go to try to start it again, and just nothing. It won't even crank. I mean, it can key on. I hear the fuel pump running, but I'm not even getting the mileage on the dash or anything like it should be, and cranking it like literally does nothing. There's no change in anything. I don't have lights on the dash. I don't know, it's weird. And all I did was sit in the garage for 2 weeks. So if you happen to know what the heck I should look at, please tell me. But we gotta get started with the swap project. So we're gonna be pushing forward. Hopefully it's just something like a loose or a bad ground or something dumb like that that will get happenstancely fixed anyway during the swap. But I don't know, super weird that this is happening. So with this sudden no start issue, I'm very quickly deciding that I want to try to eliminate as much of the factory wiring as possible on this thing, especially because we're swapping it. My original plan was thinking, oh, we're going to need to use the dash and the warning lights and incorporate all that stuff. And I'm very quickly wanting to have nothing to do with that stuff. You know, I was just looking at like stripping down the factory harness and stuff. It was like, holy cow, there's so many other body modules and crap and everything else all over this harness. Like I'd have to pull wire by wire to strip it down. And even then, from what I found with a little bit of research so far, is that maybe it's the VATS that's messing me up right now. But it's kind of weird because, like I said, with the key on, we're not getting any information displayed on the dash, like the mileage isn't coming up, you know, or the digital speedo or any of that. However, it does sound like the fuel pump's coming on, which I guess for this, I don't know if the thing's a 93 or 94 or something. I'll have to double check, but it seems like if the VATS was reading, then that should make the fuel pump come on, but then I don't know why I don't have a crank and, you know, no spark or any of that when we was cranking. But I don't know, this is becoming pretty like just, I don't know. So kind of leaning towards if there's a way we can get the VATS deleted out of the ECU and like a new engine harness that just handles the engine and transmission stuff. That way it's just kind of a put it in the other chassis, hook up power wires and grounds, and you know, wire in a fuel pump and things like that, where I can eliminate 99% of the BS going on under the dash would probably be the move to do. If you know anything about that stuff, because this is new to me, I usually try to stay the hell away from factory electronic stuff, so this is all new to me. If you got a suggestion for that, please leave a comment below and help point me in the right direction. It'll be a while before I get to all that stuff because I can do all those mechanical things first, but I mean, we know it ran, it like nothing just suddenly exploded mechanically while it sat here in the garage. However, I'm not super keen on the electrical system because I don't know how long it's been in this condition, and for sure was not stored in a nice heated garage the entire time. It sure looks like there's corrosion and things on the fuse panel boxes and stuff like that, but you know, pulling fuses out, cleaning them off, putting them back in didn't change anything. So you know, my worry is that possibly something below that's messed up. I do believe I found the starter relay and swapped it with the AC relay, and nothing really changed there. However, I don't know, like I wasn't finding great results because apparently these cars changed over the years and the electrical changed quite a bit. So that'll be our plan going forward at this point in time. Alright, now before we end this video, I'm going to show you what we're going to be swapping all the parts off of this Corvette onto. It's a 1950 Chevy Coupe. It's been kind of street rod, custom modified. It's got quite a bit of body mods done to it. Somebody did a pretty nice job on the body actually, and it's got a nice interior in it. But what they neglected to do was anything worth a damn underneath. Still got drum brakes on the front and rear. Stock suspension. But somebody went and added a, I don't know if you can see it in there, a steering rack in. And where they mounted it is a pretty terrible place. This thing currently, to drive it, it has absolutely horrendous bump steer. It's scary to take down the freeway because it just wants to dive at the ditch every time you hit a bump. Put a smoky old oil burning truck engine in it. It's just, and it currently has no brakes that function. So this thing really needs everything that that Corvette chassis is going to offer us, especially to be able to just bolt it on and then have some reliable OEM stock parts underneath it and not being worried about anything breaking and then not being able to find it locally, kind of thing, at like a parts store if it was to ever go on a long trip. But yeah, this should be a pretty fun project and looking forward to get started. And don't worry, I'll still be plugging away on the tube frame chassis. We're just kind of getting really close to the point where we're going to be ready to start putting the body on, and I need to get roll cage tubing for that. And it's just a matter of working out the time, but I want to get started on this other project because if I can eliminate most of the Corvette, get that chassis out of here, we're going to have free up a lot more space in the garage here versus having 3 of these projects going on in one space. We do have more videos lined up coming out for the tube frame chassis, so I'm going to start kind of just mixing these videos in together. So every week it'll be kind of, you don't know what you're going to get. So it'll be what I have filmed and ready to go for a video.